Hey there, everyone! It's your cartoonist pal Stan here again for another episode of Random Encounters, show where I use random encounter tables like the kinds you find in games like Dungeons and Dragons, and a random die generator to pick uh, prompts the way you would at an improv comedy show, and then I draw them. Whatever the prompt is, that's what I draw. And hopefully, it turns out funny. Uh, and hopefully, we have some fun along the way. I know I do. And I invite you to grab a pen and paper, or a sketch pad and pencil, or Conte crayons, and watercolor paper, whatever you want. Just do some drawing. Drawing is fun. I've always thought so. That's what got me where I'm at. Just drawing for fun. And the more you do it, the more fun you have, and lo and behold, the better you get. So you can draw the same things I am. You can take the ideas and give us your version of it, or you can just draw whatever you want. Draw your favorite anime character, or draw just something you see sitting around in front of you, or I don't know, draw me. My face is going to be on the screen somewhere. Doesn't matter. Just have fun. Whatever you want, do that. That's my advice. Anyway, oh no, we need to go. We're going to get some drawing done. So I'm going to grab my iPad. I do all of the drawings on this show on my iPad Pro using an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. None of this is sponsored. I don't get a nickel or a dime or a quarter or anything from either of those companies. I'm open to the possibility, though, if they want to talk about it. I'll take a sponsor. I'm not above that. I just don't have it. So, um, what was I saying? I was saying, oh yes, I do all the drawing on here. It'll be on screen for you to see when I do this thing here. There you go. Now you can see this is the random table, set of random tables, excuse me, that we're using tonight. I'm going to roll a who, and I'm going to roll a what, and then we're going to get going and start with our first drawing. So, here we go. I'm going to come on over here to the die rolling app, and I'm going to roll this once, twice, third time is a 4. Our who is a 4. And once, twice, third time, a 6. A 6 is our what. So we'll come back over to the tables here and see that a 4 is a thri-kreen. And if you've watched the show for a while, or you're a longtime D&D player, you'll know that a thri-kreen is kind of a mantis creature. It's like a mantis person. Stands up, looks like an insect, has 4 arms and 2 legs, and and bug eyes. You'll see. You'll see. And 6 is playing a piano. So we got a thri-kreen playing a piano. That is um, our first prompt. So here we go. I'm going to zoom in here so it doesn't really matter. And we're going to do a quick little sketch. Now, thri-kreen has a segmented body. It's going to have the thri-kreen sitting on a stool to play the piano. Let's kind of get a quick sketch for what the piano is going to be like, because until I get the thri-kreen kind of sketching a little better, I don't want to get too tied to the the positioning of the piano. Okay. The thing about thri-kreen with 4 arms and uh, sets of hands. Just got to be a little more mindful of what you're doing with the layout. All right, so here got a rough layout here, and now I can come back and get the piano a little better. I don't want to get the piano too wide because it's a square shape that I'm drawing in. When I zoom this out a little bit, I want it to be able to take up as much space on the page as possible. So the closer to square I get this, or the further away from rectangular I get this, oops, the easier it'll be. All right, let's see. Zoom out. I'm going to grab that and make it bigger. So here we see again, because it's a pretty rectangular shape, we've got a significant amount of space above and below. That's all right. It doesn't. I mean, I don't need to take up the whole space. But hello, Linnea, and everybody. All the lemons there on the couch. Hope you all are having a good day. I've got the Thrycreen looking back at the audience. So the idea here, I think, is that, you know what? I think I was going to put like a drink in this Thrycreen's hand, but instead I'm going to I'm holding up a sign that says "Sing along." So he's going to be looking back at his audience as he does this. There we go. Hello, Lala. Glad you could make it. How are you doing? I saw you earlier today at Marcus's show. I don't know how you get anything done. You seem to always be at someone's live stream. And don't get me wrong, I'm super thankful for it. But I worry about you sometimes, Lala. I mean, I spend all this time at our shows, and just because of the time zone difference, I almost never make it to yours. I feel bad about that. But I don't feel so bad that I'm getting up at 4 in the morning. I'll be honest. The boys are doing scouty things, says Linnea. They should be here for sketch too. All right, well, they're having fun. That's the most important thing. All right, there we go. I think that is a good enough sketch to start drawing. So I'm going to move over to my lines layer. I'm going to turn on the black ink instead of the blue. It's not ink, of course, but I still use that terminology. And as I always say, you want to start with the lines that you feel most confident in. And in this case, with the confusion that's going on with the arms, I'm going to call the head confident because it's going to stay in place no matter what happens. Even if I find out I've done something incorrect or I need to adjust the arms, the head is going to stay where it's at. So I'm going to start with that. Even though I'm not especially confident about the design on the head that I've got here, it's fine. It'll do, but I don't love it. It's passable. I guess mainly that's because I don't draw Thrycreens a lot, so I don't really feel super confident. It's not something I've got that experience. When you've done something a bunch. Sometimes I'll talk about a pose that I've used a lot, I've drawn previously. And that creates a confidence because you know how it goes. not done a lot of thri-creens, but it's not that they're hard, it's just that they're different. It's an insectoid mantis creature. There we go. That's a good start. And now I'm going to start with this upper left arm. The thri-creen are, as I say, insectoids, so just about everything about them is segmented like this, which kind of helps with the drawing. You, I don't have to worry about the whole arm or the whole of anything. I've got to get the segments right. And getting a little segment is easier to do and know when you've maybe have to be wary whether you might have to change it. You figure it out much quicker. Okay, what I'm doing here, no, that's not working, is I'm making the thri-creen take advantage of his extra arm to turn the sheet music. Like so. There we go. Wow, it looks. Somebody, I often say that you don't have to get something right. You just have to make it feel right. And I just had a feeling that putting those dots on there would help get this to feel like sheet music, and it really does. It looks. I mean, it even looks like I might have done them on purpose. Like I know the music. I First of all, I don't read music, so I wouldn't know it anyway. But it does look believable to me. Looking up here, Lala says, "Glad to be there for." Well, we're glad to have you here. No, really. I mean, I hope that I express that enough. I really do appreciate that you are so supportive in all of this. Is it easier to start sketching with pencil or paper or digital? You know, uh, you know how I'm always talking about confidence. The the fact of the matter is, Lala, I don't think either one is easier. It's the one that you're more comfortable with. Like if you're worried about whether or not you can do it on the digital, how to do it, all of that, if that's something that is a makes you nervous, then it's better to pick the pencil and paper because you will have more confidence with that. What you really want to do is, and I say this to myself all the time, so it's not just you. What we want to do with drawing is to get out of our own way, and to not worry about it and just kind of let it happen. To be relaxed and let the process flow. And it's kind of like, I mean, I've done other things in my life that it's similar when you're doing any kind of physical activities, sports in particular. I mean, you want to be so relaxed at what you're doing that you're not really thinking about that. You're enjoying the process of what you're doing. And art is very much like that also. So for you, again, I'm going to say which is the one you're most comfortable with. I'm going to guess that it's probably pencil and paper or pen and paper rather than the digital. Uh, but not necessarily. Like maybe you're very comfortable just playing around with your digital tools. But whichever one you're more comfortable with, that's the one to start with. Because what you want to do is just free your head from worrying about thinking about that. How do I do this? And just get into the fun of playing with the ideas. Oh, that's a neat idea. I'll try that. There we go. And this is turning out pretty good. I think that on the whole, for D&D fans, I think that my Thri-Kreen right here maybe looks a little too ant-like uh, rather than mantis-like, but that's all right. And I'm not going to worry about that. It's certainly not an official D&D product. Also, there have been many different takes on what the Thri-Kreen look like anyway, so lots of different options. And we're going to put some movement lines here on the hands that are playing. And then I'm going to come in here quickly, try and figure out something about how the piano is laying out. This is another part that I'm not 100% sure about, but I'm going to trust that it'll work out and proceed with confidence. Make it so that we can tell that there are keys going on, but it doesn't really matter. Kind of like um, the sheet music doesn't really matter if it's correct. It just has to feel like it could be correct. Suppose it would be great, even on top of the extra hands for doing something else while you're playing. It would be fun to put the Thri-Kreen's feet under there and show him working the pedals too, but that would require a much more difficult angle. That's why I had him turned out facing the audience, is that I can show both his face and the piano. You think about it, if you are, well, this is starting to drive me a little crazy. It's getting to be time for me to start thinking about buying a new iPad, because the pressure sensitivity on the screen is starting to have some issues. There we go, but that's looking pretty good. Sadly, iPads are expensive. So when it may be time for me to start thinking about that, my budget right now would not be very happy if I felt that it was an important thing I needed to do. All right, so I'm going to turn off the sketch layer and look at what we've got here, and that's looking pretty good. I do need to add some extra lines here to clean it up before we start putting in some color too. But I think for the most part, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to give them eyelids. So that just kind of make him look a little calmer. uh, so why did I just laugh? Well, I just laughed because I'm looking at this open space up here, and I started thinking that if I were starting this, if I had noticed this possibility, I'm going to say that again. If I had noticed this possibility a little sooner, I might have thought about putting some kind of singer, a chanteuse, sitting on top of the piano singing. But at this point, I'm gonna give that a miss and leave that as an opportunity for maybe a future drawing. Maybe I'll do this drawing again on my own, not as part of the show, and take a little extra time, make sure everything works out, and add some kind of singing bug on top of the piano. All right. I'm going to switch my brush to the gloaming brush, which I like to use. Gets me that nice crayon slash marker feeling. And I think I want to make my... The last time I did a thri-kreen, it was kind of golden colored, but this time I think I'm going to go for green, which will, on the one hand, take away from that anti feeling, but it will make him look more like a cricket. Which I suppose is not a terrible thing for a thri-kreen. Mantis and crickets, they're not that far off. All right. Here and do the arms in this shade of green. Or the limbs, not just arms. Also, I don't know, I put these little seals, rim things around the... No, they should be darker than that. All right, so all of them, particularly the joints and the rims, will be that even darker green. And come in there with that color again. I'm going to make the tops of the antenna also the darker green. And maybe a more yellow green for the eyes. There we go. Looking good there. All right, and now I just need some variations on brown to do the piano. Nice wooden stand-up piano, like the kind you might find in a Western. Saloon in the West, the Old West. Like so. Don't really have to do anything to the keys, though I might go in and add a little blue highlight just so they seem pure white. We talked a little bit about that. The accent mark, the accent color that you use on a white area has a strong effect on whether that white seems like a clean white or a dirty white or a polluted white. In any case, it's almost always still mostly white. But those little accent marks change how your brain relates to it and really has a big effect. All right, I think I'm going to come back here and just add a little bit of the shading that we do something. No, that's way too dark. We were talking before about the tricks in figuring out where to put the shading, but one of the other tricks is figuring out what color to make it. Now, when you're using a crayon or even many markers, what you really want to do is just use the same color and just press a little harder, and it will put down a darker version of the same color. But when I'm working here digitally, I've got to pick a new color. And then that is the challenge there, is to pick one that looks like, that gets that same effect of what I was talking about. It's like it's the same color, just a little stronger. But it doesn't really work that way. I've got to actually pick the color here. Like that, that's not dark enough. There we go. It needs to stand out enough to look like it could be a shadow of that color. And then we're going to come back here. Same thing, I think. I'm not going to do a lot of shading here, but I want to get that little bit underneath to make it look like there's some space under the keyboard. And also up here under the piano lid. Which means I need to do it on the side also. Like that. But other than that, I think pretty close. I'm going to put some. Again, now look at what that. All I've done. I'm going to turn off the lines layer for a second here. All I've done is draw two lines, like an 11 on its side or an equal sign on its side, but it gives it changes the feeling about that whole square. Right. It now looks. I'm going to switch to a different color just for this. Everything inside the square. I don't know. You can tell me if this is not true to you, but I think it is. That you'll say that everything in here seems like it's a different color than what's out there. It feels like I've given a color to the whole square of paper, even though all I've done is draw a sideways blue 11 on it. It's just another example of how adding colors like this uh, it kind of plays with your brain. All right, but having said that, I now can go back over here, come back to the lines layer, and say Stan. Because what we have here is a Thrycreen playing the piano. And that is our first drawing of the night. So I'm going to put that aside. Wipe my hands, have a little sip, see what's going on in the chat room. Let's see. The boys have come home, which is good. Welcome, boys. Holy Week might be a good time for you. Yeah, it's a good time to start. It's always a good time to start. I tell you I'm again for the idea of drawing for fun. I think the more you do that kind of I've got to do this and I've got to do that, the more that the pressure is going to come. I think what you want to do, or what I'd like you to do, is to just the only thing you have to do is draw a little. Draw for a few minutes each day. Just doodle something. It doesn't have to be finished. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be on special paper. But it becomes a habit. And the more that you do it and enjoy it, the more you'll want to do it, and the longer time you'll spend doing it. Doesn't have the jangles on his leg like a cricket, says Dave. Yeah, well, he's supposed to be a Thrycreen, which he's really not. So he's kind of a... I'd say that from a taxonomical point of view, I've created a new insectoid creature. But for the sake of this show, we're going to say that's a Thrycreen. But Dave's right. Famously, crickets are fiddle players. Or, they sing songs and win Academy Awards. Lala, thank you for reminding everyone to click the like. Anyone who's watching now or on replay, if you're watching this and enjoying this, it would do me a world of good if whatever platform it's on, just stop and click the like, whether it's a thumbs up or a heart or whatever. It helps me. I'll tell you, what it does is tell the algorithm, the famous algorithm, that you're enjoying this so much that you're interacting with it. And that lets them know, oh, this isn't just a passive thing, you're enjoying it. Therefore, maybe we should show it to more people. And then it'll get us more people to come in here and draw along with us. Lala used to be a Girl Scout leader. Why am I not in the least bit surprised? You, my dear friend, do everything. And you do it with aplomb. Lala says that she likes the way I color with not everything colored. Yes, I think that's besides being good for a quick drawing style for this show, I think it helps to model for people who are just starting, kind of like Lala, who are just getting into it, to understand that you don't have to complete everything within the boundaries of the lines for it to be complete, in that it's a finished drawing and it looks good. Cardigan fundraiser for me. Well, some kind of fundraiser. Anyway, there we go. We've finished. I've had my little rest. We've had our little chat. And now we'll move on. You know what? I'm not getting used to. For all I do it, I can't get used to working. The drawing you see before you is not mirror flipped for me, but the camera is, and I can function either way. Right? I've done enough different kinds of work on stage and in front of cameras to know that if I want everyone to see me, see something on this side, I might have to raise the other arm. Everything's mirror flipped, basically what I'm saying. Uh, I can function like that. I can make that work, but I have problems on my shows because on the same screen I have my drawing, which is not mirror flipped, and my face, which is. And it just messes with my head. Okay. I'm just getting the stage set here. Getting everything, getting the magic ready to go. Because then I'm going to stop. And it's time to move on to our second drawing. We're going to go and roll the dice one more time and see what we get. Whoops. What we get. What do we get? We're going to roll. And we had a Thry-Crean piano player first. The second time, we're going to go for a who. That is a once, twice. Third time, a 6. That's going to be adventurer. We know 6 is adventurer on the who's. And a what, which is a once, twice. Third time, a 3. So let's go back and see. So we've got adventurer or adventurers juggling. Adventurer juggling. Okay. I was hoping juggling would come up with a monster. When I put that on the list, I thought that, Thry-Crean would have been a really interesting juggling because they've got extra arms. But Adventurers juggling is interesting too. So I'm going to turn on my sketch pen. I like to do my sketching in blue. As you can see, you want to do it in a color other than the color that you're going to be doing your final drawing in, so you can keep the layers separate. You can see the difference between the sketch line and your finish line. I do blue because it goes back to doing drawing physically, doing cartooning and drawing on paper. When it's going to be printed, there is the way. Wow, I'm just not even finishing any thoughts today. I'm sorry about that. I'll try and be better. When in the olden days, when working on physical media like this, you would need to finish your drawing, and then it would need to be photostated. And the method for that did not photograph certain shades of blue. It didn't pick it up, and so it became very helpful to do your sketching, do your pencils in blue, and then if you didn't erase them fully, when it got photographed, it would just drop out. There. That's what I've been trying to say. All right, so we're going to do an adventurer juggling. So I think you would think for realism, if we can say that at all, going with a D&D adventure, you might want to pick the thief or the rogue to do the juggling, but that's not funny. So I'm going to pick the fighter in his big heavy armor. And the question is, what will I have him juggling? And I don't know. I think that We could be juggling his weapons, so juggle a sword, and maybe a torch. Mm, maybe a creature. I tell you, the way I've got him looking there, I already want to change this around. I think that whatever it is that he's looking up at, he's got that worried look on his face, and I thought I'd put that there just for the juggling kind of everyone. I tell you, everyone that learns how to juggle gets that look on their face. But instead, I think I'm gonna put a creature that's coming down at him. And that's why he's flipping out. So we got a sword. We're gonna have the the torch over here. Maybe we'll put in a couple of juggling balls too. There we go. Now, of course, I built that. I was talking before about the square nature of that, the square nature of the page. So right now, this is a very rectangular drawing, so there's not a lot that I can do about that. That's all right. I think it's a good concept for the drawing. Let me look up and see what's going on here. Lala says yeah, we're all taught to color within the lines and to fill the space up, and there are times when that's what you want to do, but that you don't have to, and no one ever teaches you, or it takes a long time for someone to step up and teach you, hey, you don't have to do that. So I guess I'm trying to play that role for more people here. Are the adventurers going to be doing Brothers Karamazov? That would be a very complicated drawing, though it would be a very funny drawing. I'm not sure exactly what the creature is here. Maybe like a small dragon? Something like that. All right. That's enough. That's enough of a sketch. I think we've got enough to finish this drawing. I'm gonna make the brush size a little smaller than I usually do because there's a lot more detail in here than I often will put in. Here's a little lesson that I had not intended to work in. When you look at the shape that I just gave the uh, the character's eyes, right? Usually, when we're drawing eyes, we're making them round in some way. It's either oval or actually round or kind of sideways round. But in this case, I've not only not finished the round, I've kind of flattened the bottom, flattened two of the sides, and that is to help get the idea of being surprised, right? It's out, and the cheeks kind of come up a little. So one of the things, I'm not suggesting you start here, but as you get more comfortable drawing, one of the things to play around with is changing up the things that are your standards. Right? If you always use the same eye shape, then you're missing out on some potential by just changing it up. It'll help to you with adding different emotions. You can play around and you'll get a feeling for it. I don't want to teach you any hard and fast lessons, but you'll find that different eye shapes in your drawings will convey different emotions. So you know, if you want your character to look surprised or worried, you make this change. You stretch the eye. You make the eyes bigger on the face, or you stretch the shape of them a certain way. That thumb is not going the way I want it to. That's better. Now, normally, I try to stay focused on the action area. So the juggling is what's important. So I wouldn't come down here and I'd probably leave the feet for last, which I think I did with the Thri-Kreen when I came to finishing the drawing. But here, I want to have a firm idea of what this character is set doing. That posture is the thing that the juggling is responding to, rather than the other way around. So I've got him now. I've got him also. You'll notice he's not standing straight up. He's leaning back at an angle like that, which makes him already feel a little like he's tipping over this way and puts him off balance and helps to add to the comedy of the situation. Dave says he's a pretty good juggler. 6 or 7 in the shower. Well, he's thrown them all up. I'm not sure that he ever had it going. Did he ever? Oh, am I doing this wrong? I am. I did it again. I'm drawing on my sketch layer. You remember on drawing 1? We'll come back here again on drawing 1 because I could take the sketch in and out because I drew the lines on the lines layer and put the colors on the colors layer. Here, every once in a while, I'll get so excited I'll forget. I'll do my sketch on the sketch layer, and then I'll forget to move to the lines layer, and then the sketch and the lines are on the same layer. Oh well, that just means I can't take them out. Those blue lines are going to be there for the whole of this drawing, because I'm not going back and redoing it. Nuh-uh. If I were doing this for work, I of course would have to. But this is for fun, so I'm going to use this line, make this line a little heavier because I want it to feel like this torch is closer to us. So I'm going to use a little thicker line on it. Of course, then I'm going to use a thinner line because I want the fire not to feel like a solid object. So many things to think about. But here's the thing, particularly Lala, I'm going to say this for you. I'm saying there's so many things to think about and worry about. Um, you don't have to worry about all of them. That's an advanced thing. You should just be playing. All right. Now I'm going to do this, and again, the app has this great thing which allows me to do a take a rough circle and make it into a perfect circle just by putting my finger down on it. And we talked about that before. Same thing with a line. I get a rough line and it just snaps it into a straight line. One of my favorite comments I get from people when I tell them they should draw and they say they can't even draw a straight line. My favorite thing to say to them is, neither can I. Straight lines are hard. Which is why it's great to have the app do some of the work for you. Go. Again, I'm going to do a rough circle and let the app make it bigger. Actually, I want to, again, make that thicker because it's supposed to be closer to the viewer. Maybe I made that too thick, but meh. Go. And finally, we're going to draw our little creature here. I've been waiting for that because I think he's. I like this. I'm still not sure exactly what he is. And halfway between a dragon and a wyvern, which is a dragon-ish creature. I don't know. It's got a beak, but he has claws, so it's not a wyvern. I don't know what he is. He's dangerous, though, I can tell you that much. But I really haven't figured out. I think here is where this sketch starts to not be enough for me. I've got a rough shape, but let me zoom away to show you. I know that I want his beak to be like this, and his eyes are wide like that. I don't know what I want the top of his head to be like. And that's what I'm kind of mentally struggling with right now is what's going on up here. I don't know. An awk tookie bird. Just gonna make it up as I go along. wow, as I'm drawing that, I'm realizing how many little bits of information I put to use in drawing those ridges down his back that um, I I think might seem like a one of those things that seem like a mystery. How did you figure out how to do that? The answer is that I knew 3 or 4 different pieces of information and put them together. One is that the back is rounded like this. 2 is that the spine goes over it like that. That helped me figure out where to put these here. 3 is that the spines come up from the back, and then that's begins to play with knowing a little bit about perspective and how to play with that, which is a fancy way of saying I've practiced a lot and I know how to make that work. But yeah, all of those things kind of went through my head, and I'm sure that to to you guys just watching, it's just seemed like, or like I say, I'm sure the question occurred to some people: how did he know where to draw those? And they're not. It's a curved line. How did he know how to do that? And it's because I did all that mental math in my head, mental geometry in my head, and I just didn't tell you about it. Same thing's going on here on the tail. Very similar thing. It's although it's curved, which makes it a little more complicated. But it is a round thing with a center going down like that. And so I know where I want those ridges to go. All right, now again, I have to put a little bit of speed lines here, which I haven't, to show that things are moving. Some things are moving up. Some things are moving down. It's juggling. It's confusing. The main thing I want here is for this guy to look like he's coming over the top like that. Dave, can you juggle? I don't remember. How about you, Lala? I have no idea whether or not you can juggle. I'm going to guess that if you ever tried, you could, but it may not be something you've ever tried to do. All right, there we go. Now, I would turn off the sketch layer, except I can't. Because I didn't draw on the correct layer. I'm going to move this above the colors layer, and we're going to put in some very quick colors because with the blue under there, it's not going to be great anyway. So, I want to make sure I'm on the colors layer. Wouldn't do to put all the colors and the lines and the and the sketch all on one layer because I just forgot. You know how they say measure twice, cut once? Well, similar thing with the drawing digitally. Check your layers twice so you don't have to draw 3 times. He says learning to juggle was a bit like I described drawing, lots of practice. It is. It is. My father was a good juggler. Um, Not professional, though he had you know done some basic juggling on it, as part of stage shows, not as the main entertainment, but so they could have a juggler on stage. But he was good. He had a little juggling show he would do for the kids at summer camp, and for us at our birthday parties. And so I came from a juggling family. I thought, well, I've clearly got to learn how to juggle. Dad juggles, I got to juggle. And it took me so long. I practiced and practiced, and I just couldn't get it for the longest time. And then the crazy thing to me was that all of a sudden, after practicing and practicing, one day, just one change in how I thought about what I was doing happened, and suddenly I could juggle. I'd overcome. It was a mental hurdle that was keeping me up. A lot of it certainly is physical and dexterity, but part of for me the big hurdle was learning how to think about and see the balls the right way. And once I figured that out, suddenly I went from not being able to juggle more than you know I do once, twice, and it'd start getting out of control, and I could never get past 3 or 4 passes. Um, I went from that to suddenly being able to do uh, most of the tricks that my father had showed me and taught me uh, the basics of. I could do them because I figured out, oh, that's just too dark. I made that mental switch, and it just everything came together. It was really weird. Remember I'd been practicing and practicing, and people asked me if I could juggle. I would say, no, I really can't. Not really. I'm learning. And then uh, half an hour later, I went to practice one day, and half an hour later, I came out and I would say, yeah, I can juggle. It was one of those things. Besides being so you know, basically changing it so that I could or couldn't juggle, it was it was an experience that I carry around just mentally because of that. How just a little change in how you see things and just a little bit of understanding can completely change your your ability, your perceived ability, and your confidence, your perspective. And that's true about not just juggling, which is I've that's a life lesson that I've kept for quite a well for my whole life. That no matter where you're at, no matter what you're trying to do, you need to remember that you could just be one one uh, epiphany, one discovery, one small lesson away from going from not being able to do something to really being able to do that thing. All right, let me speed this up because particularly blue with the blue lines there, this coloring is never going to be great. There we go. I think we're going to call this good. Well, I'll go back and put my signature on it. I apologize for having gotten the sketch layer wrong. And so this is never going to be quite the picture it could have been. But there we go. We got an adventurer juggling. And that's our second drawing for the evening. I'm going to pause again, catch up with what may have been going on here in the chat room. Well, it says, you've tried, you taught your kids, but cannot do it well. Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like I say, my dad was a good juggler. He started teaching me, and that's the other thing, I didn't tell that story. He started teaching me when I was about 15 or 16, and I would try and try and try, and it wasn't until I was 18. I'd been trying for 3 years to get past that opening thing, and I just couldn't. And then, like I say, one night, I understood something. I recognized something I hadn't before, and boom. So, particularly if you've taught your kids, Lala, it's in you. Eventually, if you keep trying, if it's important to you that you keep trying, that one day it'll switch and you'll just be juggling. All right, there we go. Done. Let's let me take one more little swig and reset the screen. We'll do one more drawing and then we'll call it a night. So, turn that off and be sad all for the rest of the night that I did that wrong. Make sure everything's set where I want it to be. Turn the table back on. Okay. Shh. All right. Well, here we go. Time to do a third drawing. We've had a dry crane playing a piano and an adventurer juggling, and we're going to go back for one more. So I'll come over here to the dice, and we'll roll them one more time. I got once, twice, and third time is a 3. And for the who, and a once, twice, third time, another 3. 3 was juggling. Let's do that again. Once, twice, third time, a 1. Because I think 3 is going to be juggling again. Yeah. So a 3 is a naga. A naga juggling would have been fun too. 1 is pizza delivery. But also, here's one where I certainly can also throw it open to the chat. If you guys have any ideas, a naga is... Wow, we've got creepy creatures tonight. A naga is a snake creature. Body of a snake, torso of a person. I know Dave will probably point out that it's not as simple as that. Some nagas are all humanoid. Some don't actually have torsos. It's a weird fantasy creature. But the way I'm going to draw it, it's going to be torso, kind of mid-torso up, human-ish. And the whole thing, the whole snake tail, and the whole thing very snake-y, snake-esque. Hey, Dale. Please say hi to Lester and Kate Smith. Hello to Lester and Kate Smith. Are they watching with you? Oh yeah, they're staying with you guys. They're there for GaryCon. Hey, Lester. Hey, Kate. I wish I was there hanging out with you guys. I'm seeing all the photos from GaryCon, and it's making me miss my friends even more. So, Dale and Lester and Kate, right now we're doing our third drawing, and I know that the dice have told me that it's going to be about a naga, but they were not so revealing about what the naga should be doing. Got the possibility of a naga doing pizza delivery, but this being improv, I throw it open to the floor for other suggestions for what we could have a Naga doing. Um, yes, Lester and Kate, you should meet my friend Lala, who is from the Philippines and shows up here all the time. She's a terrific crafter and a live streamer. She's got a terrific show that Mommy Guide Inc. is her channel on YouTube. Crafters out there who are watching this should definitely check her out. While I give you a couple of seconds to think and maybe make suggestions, I'm going to say I'm going to do a little pitch for my other show. Because on Thursdays, I'm here doing the Random Encounters live with you. But on Wednesdays, I'm here with a show. It's called 50 Years in the Dungeon. And that is a celebration of the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. And I also do drawing on that show. But while I'm doing the drawing, I have interviews with people who've worked on and been part of the development of Dungeons and Dragons. And it's a lot of fun. The drawings are me doing homage cartoons to Dungeons and Dragons covers or artwork, not always covers, but artwork from classic Dungeons and Dragons modules. And the interviews are, fun and revealing, and the usual kind of nerdy fun you get into in a podcast. So you should check it out. This is the link to the Substack, which is the free newsletter for the show. 50yearsinthe.dungeon.substack.com. So I'll take that off the screen now. Put it on again at the very end just to remind you. But let's see what we got. Coincidentally, Gus and I saw a bicycle pizza delivery guy doing a super poor job. That sounds funny. Cable TV installer, says Dale. He was not avoiding the Noid. I'm sure that Lala does not get that, and I bet that Lester and Dale do. The Noid was a creature from an old what's it, Domino's pizza ad campaign. You want to avoid the Noid because if you get, never mind. I'm not going to explain their 40-year-old marketing. All right, let's see. We're gonna not undo that. We're gonna come back here to the sketch, and gonna turn on the layer so I can draw on it, and I'm gonna zoom in a little to get a rough sketch for what I want to do. Guess I'm going with the pizza delivery. I don't know what, I saw the cable delivery, the cable installer, but I'll admit I just don't have any ideas for that. I don't have great ideas for the pizza delivery, but got a little something. Oh, I got in fact a better idea than that, so I'm going to erase this. Clear. All right, so we're going to have a go. All right, zoom that out a little. quite got figured out what I'm gonna have and say, but I know what I have here. So we've got the Naga coming to deliver the pizza, and it'll say pizza on it, just you know, because that's what you do in cartoons, in case people don't understand. And for some reason, Arnaga has the person who the pizza is getting delivered to wrapped up in his tail, curled up like that. Trying to think of a clever pun to do with this, but at the moment I'm not thinking of anything. But I think that this basic setup is enough that I wanna go with it, whether or not I come up with an idea. Yeah, no. So I will tell that story in a second after I finish. After I get a little more confident that I'm where I want to be here. Yeah, something about the tip, I think, should be the punchline. Anyway, so here's the story that Dave is alluding to. When I was in Japan, um, in the city I was in, there was a pizza place that was right near the school that I worked at, and I was always looking for little things that made me feel a little less homesick when on the times when I was feeling homesick. And pizza, I love pizza, and this pizza place was pretty good, and they delivered. Um, so the first time I had them deliver um, to my apartment. I used to go from uh, from work, and I would go to the pizza place, and I would put an order in and give them my address, and they'd bring it to my address. Or I guess so. This was the first time I did that, and I knew that in Japan, there's no tipping. There's just culturally that there's no tipping in uh, all the places in America. You tip habitually, and that includes things like restaurants and taxis. I knew that there was no tipping, and I knew that it was in fact insulting to try to do that. But I figured it can't possibly be true for delivery people. I mean, they can't be getting paid much. They're doing a really good job. So when the so I'd been having uh, pizza from this place for a while, but I would go there and wait and take it myself. This is the first time I asked them to deliver it to me, and the guy shows up, and I know that the price of the pizza is what it is, and I've got to pay the guy when he delivers it. They told me that at the store. Um, so he comes and he knocks on the door, and it's about a 12, it's about an $8 pizza, let's say. I don't remember exactly what the prices were, but for the story, let's say it was something like that. And I gave him um, I decided that have to tip the delivery person. So I gave him 11, the equivalent of $11, which of course is more than 10, certainly more than 8, and is more than the 10 you would pay normally. And he looked at me and said, $8 or 800 yen. And I said, yeah. Basically, I knew enough Japanese to say, "Hi, Dajo, it's okay. Here is 11." And he looked at me again. He said, it's 800, and I couldn't get him to understand that I wanted him to take the 11. That's what that's what I wanted to pay. I wanted to tip him, and eventually I said, it's for you. It's a tip, and luckily the word for tip in Japanese is chipu, and he heard me say it's a tip, and his eyes went wide, and he shook his head and waved his hands at me, and he said, "No tipu, no tipu." I said, "Oh, okay," and he put the money back in my hand and took gave me took the 10 and gave me change with my money back. He said, "No tip, no tipu," and walked away, and I discovered that. Even delivery people, you don't tip. It turns out the guy was the owner of the store, and that might have had a little something to do with it. But I think basically it was just I needed to learn the lesson. It's no tip. All right, there we go. I don't know what he's going to say in the end, but that's certainly what he's going to look like. So I'm going to remember to go to the lines later this time, and we'll go back and I will do some drawing. Is in the Philippines, Lala, is that a tipping culture or a no tipping culture? I know that everywhere is different, but I know that there are more places in Asia and Pacifica that are non-tipping cultures than here in the West, where it mostly is. I guess I also learned just a lesson. I besides the okay, no tipping. Uh, when you find out there's rules, cultural rules, assume they apply. Don't look for reasons for them not to apply. I think that what happened there was I was trying to, I knew that no tipping rule, but I thought, well, can't be that all the time. How could you possibly do that? But I knew that that was culturally the way it went. I couldn't possibly fathom in the U.S. not tipping a taxi driver. But in Japan, I knew, and so I never even tried. For some reason, when it came to pizza delivery people, I went against what I knew. Go. That's looking okay. We got this guy all wrapped up in the coils. Still not sure what the joke is going to be, but I don't know that. I mean, I'm still working on how I'm going to get that some some kind of tip joke into this. I don't know. I was also trying to think of the something about the delivery time. 30 minutes or it's free. Let's see. I want to put the doorway in there just because without some kind of frame of reference, it's a little weird to me in my head. I need to see, why is this snake guy giving this guy a pizza? Well, it's because it's his house and he ordered it. It's a delivery pizza. There we go. So welcome at it. I suppose that's wrong. You don't put the welcome facing the house. You put the welcome facing the person who's coming to the house. There we go. Welcome. And we want to put the pizza on the box. I still don't know what they're going to say. And I'm getting to the point where I need to know that. All right. You know what? I can do the coloring, but oh boy, it's. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to our drawing brush and turn off the sketch layer. think I'm gonna do some just a little bit of uh, the things that are popping into my head are not necessarily funny, but uh, but would work in this situation, and they're funny just because the situation is weird. They're not jokes. That's all right. I think that's what I'll probably do. Do 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 do. The for each of the shows, I do a little drawing for the um, that I show during the opening during the countdown timer, and that I use as a thumbnail for the episode on YouTube and other places. And I've come to really enjoy doing those. Fact of the matter is they're not really necessary. I could come up with a generic one and just make small changes, but I like doing those drawings. I think that of all the stuff when the show is over and I start posting these to my um, social media, I do the cartoons that I drew, but I almost never do the thumbnail other than the sites that it's actually running. And I was going back and looking at the thumbnails I've done for previous episodes. So we're closing in on the 1 year mark in this show, which in itself is a little frightening to me. So I've done. I'm coming up on the 50th uh, thumbnail drawing, and so I went back and I was looking at them, and I really like them. I think some of them are pretty clever, just in their own right. Eventually, I may need to find a proper venue or reason to show or collect those somewhere, because I think they're worth it, or some of them are. Some of them, some of them aren't. There we go. Let's come in here and put a little bit of shading, and then I will do the put a little bit of text in there, even though it won't be hilarious. When I choose my color, Lala asks, do I have a color theory or palette? So what I have here, when I tap this thing, these at the bottom of the my head is kind of blocking them right there. But at the bottom, the three rows are my basic colors that I use from, and you'll see there's a lot of blues in there. But those are the colors that I use when I don't have specific things as starting points to build off. The sad part is that I had one that I a palette like this that I'd been developing for 4 years, and I accidentally erased it. So I'm starting to build it again. Um, so these are basically the colors I like to use to start with. So if you look at an artist who's working in paint, particularly oils or acrylics, they don't have a color for everything. They've got their basic colors and they mix them to get the particular colors they're looking for. Now, there's no real mixing for me, but there is, starting with a color, and like I'm doing here, I'm modifying off that color. So these are the colors I like to use to start with. When they're not appropriate, I will. I've got a bunch of other palettes of colors. Let me see if I can show you some of those. Um, so if I come over here to the palettes, you can see I've got uh, this one below it here. I don't know if you can read it. It says zombies and such. This one with the purples and the greens. Those are the colors I use while I'm doing zombie creatures. And then I've got this one here, which is all skin tones. You can see a wide range of different skin tones. So when I'm uh, doing uh, people that I can have photos of, or I'm doing a lot of people in a scene, I'll open this up so that not everyone has the same pasty pink palette that I use all the time here. And I try to remember to change it up, and I fail more often than not. But here we've just got an entire row of variations of skin tone. Here we've got grayscale going. I don't. I don't remember. 10 across, so that's 30. That's going from black, from 100% black to. Oh, that's maybe. It can't be 10%. Maybe it's 10%. But it's dropping down by increments, so I can get varying shades of gray. Here is Bugbear PI is for a specific character. I always want to use the same colors, so I made a palette that's just the colors I use when coloring that character. And then these other ones are other similar things. They're all for specific characters or comics that I've done. So that's my starting point. As for color theory, I the truth of the matter is I don't really understand the full range of color theory. I've read about it and I've been in classes where it's been taught, and I understand broadly color theory, but I don't. And I know people who know it backwards and forwards and can speak very intelligently on the whys uh, and how they work and what colors work together and why they do and how the color wheel is best used. And I know some of that, but not enough that I would want to try and teach you anything off it because I'll probably be wrong in some of what I told you. Uh, so a lot of it is what I do have is a lot of experience drawing. So I'm going from experience and knowing what looks good to me. And I know certain colors go together. I don't know why. I just know it. Um, so there. I hope that answers your question, Lala. It's not as good an answer as I would like to give. I wish I could give you a really solid uh, kind of truthful explanation that builds on what, because people spend a lot of time studying and writing about color theory. I'm just not a good person to talk about it. All right, here we go. We've got our characters there. Now I'm going to take all of these layers and I'm going to move this around a little bit because I want to create a little room at top for me to add a little bit of just text. And I'll start with a sketch because my handwriting on its own is terrible. I've got really bad handwriting, but when I do lettering, I can manage. I've learned that is different. It's different than handwriting. That's lettering. So such weird games we play with ourselves. Okay, so this guy's going to be saying, we're going to give him lots of S's because he's a snake creature. He's going to be saying 30 minutes or less. And this guy says, oh yeah. Big tip. There is a, like I said, not really funny, but humorous. I'm going to call that humorous. So let's go in again and go. Wish I could have thought of a way to bring in a good snaky pun into this. I do love puns. But and if one comes to me, maybe I'll do this drawing again in a more finished version. All right, so now we'll turn off those sketch and we'll look at it and we have, oh, I'd have to remember to put a stand on there. Naga is, just in case you didn't know, Naga is a tipping culture, which is funny for us and no one else would get it. 30 minutes or less. Oh yeah, big tip, big tip. And there we go. All right, so I'm going to take a little swig here. See if anything else is coming on here. Lala says, I always struggle with color combinations. Yeah, I understand, Lala. Um, there's a thing online. There are several Instagram channels that I know of, and other people that do. Basically, they create palettes. They take uh, uh, classic pieces of art or pieces of art of any sort, and then create a palette of the colors that are in it, and that's super useful in giving you the experience of looking. You can look at a picture, and then it gives you the raw colors that are most used in that drawing, and looking at those uh, will help you to see which colors seem to go together. Uh, and you'll begin to get an idea of what goes well, like in an ocean, a sea view, either of the beach or out on the water. You'll see the same colors popping up, of course, but I'm not just talking about the blues. You'll see the same orange will show up all the time, or the same green, or so it's a good place to just to look um, for fun. But also, if you're going to be doing any digital drawing, you can borrow those colors. You can go and look at the which colors they have and copy and paste them onto your palette so that you have those colors for your drawings. And so it's a good way to get a a, a, a jump start on putting your palette together for a drawing that you're doing. Just saying. All right, here we go. We have had a fun evening. Lots of drawing, some chatting, some art discussions. If you missed those, you may want to go back and rewatch. Just had a nice conversation about colors and color theory. Uh, but we're wrapping up for the evening. So we did most recently a Naga pizza delivery. That was our third drawing. Our second drawing was an adventurer juggler or juggling, adventurer juggling. And our first drawing was a Thry-Kreen playing the piano who looks a little bit more like a cricket. I think the thing about this show, everything is not exactly like it should be, but they're still fun. And that goes back to the heart of what I said at the start. This is all about the fun of drawing. Even if it's not perfect, even if you make a mistake like I did in the second one of I'm losing my picture there. Even you make a mistake like I did in the second one of drawing on the wrong level, on the wrong layer. Um, Even if you get the wrong kind of creature like I have here, even if you can't think of a joke like I couldn't in the third one, it's still fun to do the drawing. It's just for its own sake. So I encourage everyone, to grab your pen and paper and join me next week when we do this. Or between now and then, just go draw for your own for fun. I'm talking to the folks in the chat about that. Do it. Just do it. Don't have any expectations. Just enjoy the process. All right, so yeah, that's where we're at. I'm going to come over here and put that away and say you have been watching another hour and 45 minutes of random encounters as I struggle with my brain to find a good cartoon to go with a random encounter. We will be back next week. Oh, I want to remind you once again that there's another show that I do called 50 Years in the Dungeon. It is a celebration of the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. You can find a free newsletter for the show at 50yearsinthe.dungeon.substack.com. I would be very honored if you went and took a look at that. You can come back here every Thursday. You can go see 50 Years in the Dungeon, same channel, every Wednesday. And you can check me out on my Instagram if you want to see any of the other drawings I do other places. If I put it out into the public, it'll wind up on my Instagram. That's a good place to go. If you want to get more involved, if you really like what you're seeing and say, hey, you know what? That Stan is the kind of artist I want to support. I would say thank you. And then I would say, well, maybe you want to go over to my Patreon. Patreon.com/Stanex. STANNEX. That's the place to go. People who are there get behind the scenes information. They don't have to go to my Instagram or other places to find my art. I stick it in an email and send it to them so that they always get to see what it is that I'm working on. And depending on what level you become a patron at, you may get other rewards, like my upper level patrons. 4 times a year, I send them a sticker in the mail. In fact, I just mailed out the first quarter stickers yesterday, so they're on their way. All the people who are my top level supporters, they're going to get a sticker in the mail sometime early next week, I'm going to guess. And that's a lot of fun. Everyone loves stickers. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, come on, check it out. We'll show you a good time. All right, I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna say thank you for watching, whether you were live or you're watching on replay. I really appreciate you coming by. I hope you're having fun. I hope that you're going to be doing some drawing of your own, and if you want to, yeah, share it with me. I'd love to see it. I really would. So until next week, take care, everyone, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.